time once again to discuss all things Shadowhunters. So today I am wearing my Malik shirt once again because oh boy, were we treated well in the Malik department in episode 2. It was the Malik content that we truly deserved. Honestly, this episode was such a blessing, and not just for the fact that it revolved more around Malik, but also for the fact that it actually made me laugh a lot more than the episodes usually do. This episode was a goldmine, it really was. The first 3 quarters were so hilariously entertaining, but then towards the end of it you had the dark stuff seep in again as well. So it was still serious Shadowhunters by the end of it. But we really got to have a lot of fun with this episode, especially because it didn't really follow any specific sort of storyline in the book. I mean, obviously you have the plotline with Lilith and Jace's nightmares and stuff like that. We had those things in it as well, but this was an episode that the writers could really play around with. They didn't have to follow any rules, and I love it when they get the chance to go off from the books and do their own thing. And it worked out really well in this episode because I adored it. So since the episode focused so much on Malik, let's start in that area, shall we? This episode opens with a warlock party to welcome Lorenzo Ray as the new High Warlock of Brooklyn. Still not happy about that. That's Magnus's job. I don't care how good of a warlock Lorenzo might be. He's nothing compared to Magnus, really, is he? But anyway, Magnus is obliged to attend this party, so he ends up taking Alec with him. I loved so many things about this party scene. Alec was nervous about being there. You could tell he was a little tense. He was the only shadow hunter. He felt like the odd one out. So Magnus holds his hand reassuringly. That is the type of content I am here for. Reassuring boyfriends. Thank you very much. Not only do we have that, we also get to see Madsy again. Yay for Madsy! And her 2 fabulous uncles, Magnus and Alec. I absolutely adore her relationship with Malik. Yeah. I mean, the episode could have ended there with Alec lifting Madsy up and I would have been satisfied. Yeah, but of course it wouldn't be Shadowhunters if this party didn't completely go to shit. So things go down, this demonic energy comes through the ley lines. It stops the warlocks from being able to control their magic. Can we talk about the fact that we got to see Katarina's blue skin? Very happy about that little fact. Lorenzo immediately decides to blame Magnus. There is a scene later on in Magnus's apartment. Alec is there. First of all, this scene. Domestic Malik. Alec brings up the sandalwood shampoo. Sandalwood! That little reference just made me so very happy. And it's all happy and nice and everything until Lorenzo turns up. He blames Magnus for sabotaging his party. Because it was such dark magic, Lorenzo believes that it's down to Asmodeus. So that is why Lorenzo thinks that Magnus is involved, because of his connection to Asmodeus. Alec is listening into the conversation, so after Lorenzo leaves, Alec questions Magnus about why Lorenzo thinks Magnus is involved. What I was not expecting in this episode was for Magnus to reveal that Asmodeus was his father to Alec. That was a very pleasant surprise. Obviously in the books we don't find out anything about this until the end of City of Heavenly Fire. Whereas in the show, they threw that to the side. They had Magnus tell Alec the minute Asmodeus was brought up. I absolutely adore the honesty and the openness that the Shadowhunters writers have injected into Malik, because I do feel like in the show they are a lot more open about their feelings with each other, or when they do close themselves off, it's not for very long and it's usually resolved quite quickly. So to have Magnus tell Alec straight away that this greater demon is his father, I thought that was a really smart move by the writers, and I'm glad they included it. They both decide to try and track him down to stop what's going on. So this leads to an absolutely amazing scene in Lorenzo Ray's house. This scene honestly added 10 years to my lifespan. Truly an iconic moment. Alec goes to Lorenzo to act as though he will tear Magnus in if it is found that Magnus is behind the things that happened at the party. And whilst Alec is playing the part of the concerned head of the institute, he opens the window to let Magnus in. Magnus is just sneaking around the mansion looking for traces of the dark magic in the ley lines. Oh, honestly, this scene, yeah, it's one of my favourites. It's just brilliant. The silent looks that Alec and Magnus were giving each other. Poor Alec having to listen to Lorenzo talk about his artifacts that he has in his house. He was so desperate to give Alec that tour. I absolutely loved Magnus crashing into the wall. I remember when I first saw that scene in the trailers leading up to the show, I thought it was happening in some really intense battle. No, it was just Magnus trying to look for traces of his father in Lorenzo Ray's mansion, messing it up a little along the way. But Magnus actually does discover that it's not his father, and it is a greater demon that is a lot more powerful. Obviously we know it's Lilith, but they don't. So to deal with the problem, Alec decides that the Institute should pour angelic energy into the lines. He has this really wonderful plan and he explains it to the Institute. But then there's Raj! Honestly, wasn't expecting to see him back this season. Little surprised he's still around. He's still being a dickhead. He just can't let anyone have anything. He's always got to be there with a comment that's probably inappropriate. And this week's inappropriate comment from Raj, he wanted to just contain the warlocks. Great plan, Raj! Fantastic! But Alec wasn't having any of that shit, so him and Magnus decide to go through with the plan anyway. So then we finally get Magnus and Alec working together. Magnus is using his magic. Alec's trying to gain access through the computer system. Finds out he's been unauthorised. Guess who's behind that? I wonder who it could be. Raj. So despite him trying to fuck things up, Magnus and Alec still manage to pull off the plan with a little help from Alec's strength rune. They get the job done because that is what they do. Power couple of the century. And it works, and it gets Lilith shook. She does know now, however, that people are trying to stop her. She definitely didn't look happy at the end of that episode. She doesn't want anyone messing with her plans, so I am sure she's going to come down hard on them after this. So after all of that action, we have another great balcony scene. Whenever you see that balcony, you just know that it's going to be an emotionally charged scene. And this was no exception. When Magnus brings up his father and Alex says you're the furthest thing from a greater demon, that moment. Yes. I just loved how much it didn't matter to Alec. He really doesn't care who Magnus's father was. And I'm so glad that he told Magnus that it didn't matter. That scene was so pure. And I am extremely happy that it exists. It was what we deserve, it's what they deserve. Yes. So as wonderful as all of that Malik content was, there were a lot of other things going on in this episode. We need to talk about the unexpected double date. Oh, that scene in the restaurant. Again, one of my favourites. So Jace wants to take Clary out for dinner, on a proper date, because you know, the two of them have really never had this opportunity before, especially considering they thought they were brother and sister for so long. You know, you don't really wine and dine your sister. So he wants to take her out to dinner, but of course he has no clue how these things work. He goes to Izzy for advice first, and then ends up calling Simon. That phone call was so funny. I am all about Simon and Jace interactions. Simon reels off a few restaurants. Jace picks one of them. If we jump over to Simon in this episode, we get some really great scenes between him and Maya. They are trying to figure out what the Seelie Queen did to Simon. The scene between the two of them at the start of the episode, surprisingly I found super adorable. I just really like Simon and Maya in the show, and I didn't expect to like them so much. And I don't know whether that's just because I love Alberto and Alicia so much, but they work brilliantly together. Whenever it came to Simon and Maya in the books, I was always a little bit about them, whereas I am finding them adorable in the show. For however long they last. We also had a brilliant scene in Jade Wolf. One of the wolves from last season is giving Maya shit about having Simon in Jade Wolf and about the fact that they are in a relationship together, and Maya shuts him down in the most fantastic possible way. She is having none of that bullshit, and I love that Simon laughed about it as well. He didn't let it get to him. So yeah, I loved that scene. Later on in the episode, Jace takes Clary to one of the restaurants that Simon suggested. He didn't realise that you had to make a reservation. Bless Jace's heart, honestly. So they get put on a communal table. When they are led over by the waitress, they see that Simon and Maya are there. These scenes were so funny. First of all, shout out to Clary for asking that one question we all wonder about. What happens to a wolf's clothes when they transform? Poor Maya gets her lovely cute outfit shredded, but also stashes clothes all over the city, as you do. Despite the initial awkwardness, Clary and Maya seem to be getting on really well. Jace and Simon, they never really do anyway. Maya was talking about how she's glad she's not Shadowhunter because she doesn't think she'd like having tattoos all over her body. And Jace brings up her hidden butterfly tattoo. Of course, Simon or Clary didn't know that Jace and Maya had been a thing. So that gets dragged up over dinner. Their faces, the awkwardness. Yeah, brilliant moment. What I did love is after that scene in the restaurant, when both couples went their different ways, we had Simon and Maya discussing what was revealed over dinner and the fact that it's absolutely not a problem. Maya says it doesn't matter who they've been with in the past. Maya also said she wasn't going to apologise for it, as she shouldn't. I loved Simon's line about how he assumed everyone slept with Jason, that he probably would at some point. Simon's one-liners in this show are always brilliant. So that was a lovely moment between the two of them. And then we had Jace and Clary. Clary wasn't upset about Maya, she was more upset about the fact that Jace seems comfortable enough sleeping with other people, but he doesn't want to with her. He gives this whole very beautiful speech about how he likes her more than he's ever liked anyone else and that he doesn't want to rush things. And whilst that is definitely true, we also know that part of the reason why he won't go that far with her is because of the nightmares that he keeps having. So whilst that moment between them was cute, it was a little bit bittersweet because we know that there's more to it than just what Jace was saying, and poor Clary has no idea. So yeah, I absolutely loved the storylines with the four of them in this episode. It gave us some really brilliant moments. Finally, moving on to the characters that we haven't talked about. In this episode, we only have a few scenes with Izzy. She is very tired and she is overworking herself. Please let my wife get some rest. She needs it. She actually has a really lovely scene with Luke in this episode. Izzy is looking over the footage to find the point of Tim's possession. Luke comes to check in on her at some point to see how she's getting on, and she says that she volunteered to stay behind and get the work done so that everyone else could go out. Luke talks to her about how he wished he hadn't wasted any time when he had Jocelyn, and he starts talking about how Izzy shouldn't be wasting her life for the sake of others either, and then she dismisses it because she says that she doesn't have a Jocelyn. I loved this little scene between them because it's not often that we get scenes between Izzy and Luke, so I appreciated that as a moment. I am really sad, however, that Izzy feels that way. She shouldn't have to give up her time to do work just because she doesn't have anyone to go out and date. That's not the point. She should be living her life for her, not to try and find someone. With that being said, as that conversation was happening, I was just thinking, your Jocelyn is having dinner with Maya right now. You'll get there eventually, I promise, oh my god. So yeah, I love that scene, but I am sad for poor Izzy. I just want to say quickly as well, whilst I remember, I absolutely loved the fact that we got to see more Katerina in this episode. Her scene in the hospital was heartbreaking because she was just trying to help that poor guy, and then the surge happened and it all went to shit. I really want to see more of her in the show though, because I think she's a fantastic character. So yeah, that is about all I can think of to talk about in regards to this episode. As always, there is probably a lot that I have missed out. If there is anything else you would like to discuss, feel free to leave it down in the comments. I am so in love with everything that this episode had to offer. I suspect we will get back to more serious and dark things in next week's episode, but it was good to have something a little bit more lighthearted, and it was definitely good to have something a little bit more Malik. I just love their love. I really do. I'm also excited to see more of Lorenzo and what part he's going to play in the rest of this season. So please do let me know all of your thoughts and feelings on this episode. What did you like? Was there anything that you didn't like? Feel free to discuss all the Shadowhunters things. I will be back here next week with another discussion video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!